Alright. This is your boy Hank Hackerson, aka Hank Hacks Hackers, and we are in TryHackMe doing the Kenobi, and as you can tell from this little figure right here, that is Obi Wan Kenobi. I have never done this, so I don't really even know what we have ahead of us, but I'm guessing we're gonna learn together, so we're gonna start this machine right here. Gonna start the attack box because I know we got to do all those things. I'm gonna read through these questions real quick just so we kind of know what the heck is in front of us and what we got to do. And then the first thing right here says that we got to scan with Nmap. So I know I know that this is gonna take a long minute, and so this is going, I'm gonna do the recording, run the scan, and then turn off the recording, come back when the scan is finished, and then we'll finish the rest of these activities together. So here we go. All right, deploy the vulnerable machine as it says, which we already just did. Make sure you're connected to the network and deploy the machine. Sure. Scan the machine with Nmap. See how many ports are open. Cool. Samba is the standard Windows interoperability suite of programs for Linux and Unix. It allows end users to access and use files, printers, and other commonly shared resources on a company's intranet. Suppose that's incorrect spelling of companies, but on a company's intranet or internet, it's often, and this is also incorrect, it's often referred to as a network file system. Okay, Samba is based on the common client server protocol of servers, SMB, server message block. SMB is developed only for Windows without Samba. Other computer platforms would be isolated from Windows machines even if they were part of the same network. Okay, so basically Samba lets people who are in a Windows network or on a Windows machine access Linux type machines, Linux Unix type machines, from what I gather. Okay, so answer the questions below. Using Nmap, we can enumerate a machine for SMB shares. Nmap has the ability to run to automate a wide variety of networking tasks. There's a script to enumerate shares, and this is the script itself. We talked about scripts and stuff like that inside a previous room, so we'll just be, that's literally the name, SMB enum shares. So that's the script that we're going to be using. I'm guessing it's going to be on port 445 since it already gave it to us. SMB originally ran on top of NetBIOS using port 139. NetBIOS is an older transport layer that allows Windows computers to talk to each other on the same network. 445, later versions of SMB after Windows 2000 began to use 445 on top of a TCP stack. Using TCP allows SMB to work over the internet. Okay, cool. So instead of being on the same network, you could do it over the internet, which is probably why we're running this as an Nmap scan, because we're obviously not on the same network as them. So how many shares have we found? Cool. On most Linux distributions, SMB client is already installed, and we use that in our last lab as well. And so typically, from what I understand, it ends up being on anonymous, or at least it's an anonymous share, which doesn't require a username and password for us to be able to use. Connect to the machine's network share. Once you've connected, list the files in the share. What is the file that you can see? Seems to be just one file. You can recursively download SMB share 2, submit the username and password as nothing, like we said. Open the file on the share. There's a few interesting things found. What port is FTP running on? That's usually 21. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 21 as well. Your early Nmap scan will have shown 111 running the service rpcbind. This is just a server that converts remote procedure call program number into universal addresses. When an RPC service is installed, it tells rpcbind the address at which it is listening, and the RPC program number is prepared to serve. In our case, 111 is access to a network file system. Let's use Nmap to enumerate this. Okay, so it seems like we're going to be using Nmap for a lot of things in this lab. ProFTPd is a free open source FTP server compatible with Unix and Windows systems. It's also been vulnerable in the past software versions. Let's get the version of ProFTP. We can use searchsploit to find exploit for a particular software version. Searchsploit is basically just a command line tool for exploitdb.com. This is a really, really cool website, by the way. You can get a lot of exploits and a lot of Google hacking search parameters, and it's pretty crazy, this website. If you have not used it, I recommend you go check it out. How many exploits are there for ProFTP running? It's a one-digit answer, so it's between 1 to 9, as we can tell. You should have found an exploit from their mod copy module. The mod copy module implements site I don't want to read all this stuff to kind of distract us, because we should kind of do this after we do the Nmap scan, so I'm definitely getting ahead of myself. I just want to kind of get an idea of what we're supposed to be doing. So, which can be used to copy file directories. I see. So mod copy obviously does copy file directories from one place to another on the server. Any unauthenticated client can leverage these commands to copy files from any of the file system to a chosen destination. We know that FTP service is running as the Kenobi user. It's giving it away. This is probably why I shouldn't be reading all these things. From the file on the share, and an SSH key is generated for that user. Okay, we're now going to copy Kenobi's private key using the site copy for whatever and site cpto commands. We knew that the var whatever directory was a mount we could see. Task 2 question 4. So now we've moved Kenobi's private key to the var temp directory. Let's mount it. And then we now have a mount on our deployed machine. We can go to the temp directory and get the private key, then log into Kenobi's account. What is Kenobi's user flag once we get into the account? And let's see. So permissions, we've done this several times, so you should be familiar with this by now. But so read write, right? So this is the person who created it. This is the group that they belong to, and they call it world permissions or global permissions. And then if there is S in there, that stands for SUID, which is set UID. So if there's an S in this first, or really any part in this, but typically it's in the first set of permissions. If this is in here, that means that if you execute this file or whatever the command is, then you would execute it as the permissions of the person who created it, which typically is root when you're trying to do when you're trying to escalate privileges. So this is one of the things that we try to look for all the time. So the SUID bit, user executes the file with the permissions of the file owner. SGID is the group owner, and then sticky bit has no meaning, no meaning, which is the last piece right here. It's like nothing. File created, the directory owns gets assumed. Okay, we already talked about all this stuff. So SUID bits can be dangerous. Some binaries such as password need to be run with the elevated privileges, as is resetting your password on the system. However, other custom files that could have the SUID bit can lead to all sorts of issues, like escalated privileges. To search the system for these types of files, run this command, which we also did last time, but we did a different version of this command. Instead of perm us, which is probably even easier, we did perm 4000 and then type file. Last time we did type D for directory, and or actually no, 4000 is 4000 is write permission, so it's not the SUID permission, so that's my bad. What file looks particularly out of the ordinary? We'll find that. Run the binary. How many options appear? We'll find that. Strings is a command on Linux that looks for human readable strings on a binary, so we're going to do that. This shows us the binary that is running without a full path. So as this file runs as the root user privileges, we can manipulate our path to gain a root shell, which is probably what we're trying to do, and we're going to get a root flag. So we sped through all of the instructions. This is obviously on TryHackMe. If you don't have an account with TryHackMe, make sure you get yourself one. It's super affordable, but then there's also a link. I usually say this at the beginning of each episode, but there's a link in the description that gives you a discount credit towards your username, or what am I saying, towards your membership. And then of course, like, follow, share, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that we drop something. And let's go. So completed. We've already started the machines. Let's do Nmap in this mofo. Let's see what we got. Okay, so the first Nmap that we're gonna run is to do a couple of things. This is for service. Let me zoom in here a little bit over here. So this is to find out the service, SN, and then we got ON for output, the actual file. So we'll do nmap scan is going to be our output file. And then this thing right here is the bane of my existence. When you do a -p- command, it scans all the ports, and that's what takes so flippin' long. And what are we going to run it at? We're going to run it against this thing. So, okay, so when you click the green start machine, everybody should know this by now. Just going to go through it real quick. When you click the green start machine, it gives you this IP address, and this is the IP address that you're going to be attacking. So this is our victim IP address. And then when you click the blue start attack box button that was at the top of the screen that we did at the beginning, it gives us this IP address and this whole thing right here on the right side of the screen, which is our actual attack box. So we're using the attack box to attack the victim. And so I always do VV, and it's a best practice to always do this as well, because when you press enter, instead of this thing just running in the background and giving you the results at the end, you can see the results in real time. So it tells you what it's doing, then it starts scanning, and it tells you that, you know, the delay for this has gone from 5 to 10 due to 16 out of 5 dropped probes, and then it keeps increasing the delay to 40 to 80. And then what it does is that it'll tell you as it's running what is your estimated time of completion is going to be. And the first couple of estimates are incorrect because every single time, I mean, yesterday when I did this, it took literally almost 2 hours for this thing to finish, which is freaking obnoxious. But at least an hour every single time that I run this. So this is going to tell us, you know, what happens, and I am not going to record this for an hour and a half and not say anything. So I'm going to stop the recording right now, and then I'm going to come back later when this thing is finished, so that we can see what the end result was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get, oh, see, look, boom. So 0.63% done, right? It kind of is giving us the update already. Oh, nice. This is actually not a bad estimation. This is the first time that it's given a decent estimation. So, okay, so 0.63% done, and then 1.1% done, and then it says an hour and 30 minutes remaining for this thing to tell us what the F is going on. So, we're going to come back later. I'm just going to do man nmap because I want to find out what that one other command that we used was, because I really want to get a good idea. So SV is to find version, ON is for the output, SN, I want to know what that means. So let's find this out real quick. Where's SN? Where's SN up in this? Oh, it's a ping scan. Oh, whatever. Oh, no. This is S lowercase n. Maybe there's an S uppercase n. What is S uppercase n? What does that do? Is that a script thing? No, it's not a script thing. Did I pass it already? Let me make sure I didn't pass it. It is. Okay, so I did pass it. So SN is TCP null. I see. So that's the type of scan that we're running. I'm guessing it's not going to complete a full TCP handshake, and maybe it'll kind of take less time, which I highly doubt. But if you run a full TCP scan, you show up, almost guaranteed, you show up on the intrusion detection system of the victim or their security information and event manager, SIM software. So it's always good to either run just the TCP SYN scan, this thing right here, which is SS, or some type of other stuff. So the XMS scan, these types of things are meant to avoid intrusion detection. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can run Nmap, and the whole idea is to avoid being detected. That's literally the whole idea of a penetration test and hacking in general. You know, assuming that you're a mean hacker, you're like an illegal hacker. The whole idea is you want to avoid being detected. But even if you are an ethical hacker and you are running a pen test, you still want to be undetected. So the best way to do that is to not do a complete TCP handshake. And if you don't know what that means, go ahead and Google it, because I am not going to spend time explaining that right now. But TCP handshake is one of the most basic topics in TCP, IP, UDP, the whole conversation of connecting and networking. So you need to understand what that means. It's very, very important for you to understand some of these basics. And this is technically a basic room, but we're talking about some advanced things as we go through this the rest of this room. So anyways, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna stop this recording, and we are gonna come back when this mofo is done, which is an hour and a half. Jesus, cheese and rice. Yeah, man, I'll come back in an hour and a half. But to you, it's gonna be a snap of a finger because of the power of editing. All right, I'll see you in a minute. So I actually clicked on the hint button right here, and it gave us a very basic Nmap command to run with no other options other than triple V for super verbose. And it finished within a matter of like 10 seconds. As you can see, this thing is still running, and there's still over an hour left. And I just wanted to see if the answer was actually correct, and the answer is correct. So in fact, we just needed to see if these 7 ports were actually open. And so since they are, I am going to stop this scan. Sorry, I got a phone call. Had to take care of that real quick. But okay, so anyways, we got our port scan completed. We got our number of ports, so we can move on from here. All right, so since we've already read through this a little bit, we can kind of just actually start implementing these other scans to do the rest of our enumeration and try to find out exactly what we're supposed to be doing with these ports and these different services and things like that. So we are gonna zoom in here a little bit so you could kind of see a little bit better. Let me center this. Okay, cool. Here we go. I am also going to, for now, just close this window just to kind of make it a little bit less busy. And here we go. So Nmap port 445, because as we can tell, port 445 is Microsoft DS, and it's one of the 2 ports for NetBIOS SMB server message protocol. So we're going to run the script for SMB enum shares because we want to find out the shares. SMB enum users because we want to see if we can find any users. And I think that should be, yeah, those are the only 2 that it tells us to run. So we're going to put in our port here, and let's see what we get. Okay, that was really quick. Let me kind of see if I can kind of scroll up a little bit. Okay, so what do we got? We got a few shares here. We have the IPC service, Kenobi server, Samba, 2 users attached to it, anonymous access. You can read and write as an anonymous person without any username and password. Current user access, read and write. Then there's the anonymous share, and there is read and write access for anonymous as well. And then I'll see, so max users here is 2. Oh no, I'm sorry, users is 2, max users unlimited. Users here is 0, max users is unlimited. And then we have our print share, printer driver. And basically the same thing. So we also get the path to these things. Is there a path to this? Yeah, this is in the temp folder. This is in the chome Kenobi share folder, and this is in the var_lib Samba printers folder. Okay, so we got those. So let's see if any of those are our answer. So it says how many shares have we found? We found 3 shares. So there's that. So now we're going to try to see what we can get from our SMB client using the anonymous share folder. So let's go over here. The command itself is SMB client / the IP address and / anonymous. Let's see what we got. enter the password. Since it's anonymous and we don't need one, we could just press enter. And we are here officially. So once you're connected, list the files on the share. What is the file that you can see? Okay, so I think to list it, it's probably ls. Is it ls? Yeah, it is. So what files can we see? We see log.txt. So that's the name of the file. That should be right. Nice. And you can recursively download SMB share to submit the username and password as nothing. We already did that. So now SMB get r SMB and the IP and the anonymous share. And so this is what is this what this what am I doing? What this is going to do is it's going to let's see if we can first read this. Can I read this? I can't read it. I think it's more log.txt. There you go. So this opened it up for us. And what is inside this txt file? So it says generating public private key RSA key pair, enter a file in which to save the key, which is here, created directories, this thing, enter passphrase, empty for nothing, same passphrase again, nothing, your identification has been saved in, so this is obviously a log file that basically showing us everything that happened. And then the key fingerprint is this, so it's a 256 SHA key, and this is the actual key itself, Kenobi at Kenobi, that's probably the username at the DNS, at the domain. And what else we got? This is a basic ProFTPd configuration file, rename it to ProFTPd.com for actual use. It establishes a single server and a single anonymous login. It assumes that you have a user and a group. So I'm going to keep this window open just to be able to refer back to this information later. And we're going to run the second command here. So I think this is smb get r smb /10 10 246.186 /anonymous. Let's see what this does for us. We don't need a password. Using workgroup user guest smb downloaded the log.txt. So if I press ls, there we go. So we actually got the log file downloaded on our attack box. And so what port is FTP running on? We already got that earlier. Let me see. I can't, where is it? What am I doing? Where are we going? Ooh, look, there's all this other information in here too. Ooh, hello. Well, hello there. Let's see what else we got in here. This might be some goodies. Debugging, accounting, networking. Browsing identification. What else we got in this here? What else we got here? Max clients 10, user alias anonymous FTP, users FTP, allow override on, which means we could probably overwrite some things. User Kenobi, group Kenobi, umask is on 22. I don't think that's a port. Port 21 is the standard FTP port. I mean, that's kind of a given, so we can answer that correctly. So what it says here is that if you open the file on the share, there's a few interesting things found. Information generated for Kenobi when generating SSH key for the user, which we already saw at the top. Information about the ProFTPd server, which we already noticed as well. And your earlier Nmap port can will have shown port 111 running the service rpcbind. This is just, let me zoom out because it's kind of weird. This is just a server that converts remote procedure call number into universal addresses. When an RPC service is started, it tells rpcbind the address at which it is listening and the RPC program number it's prepared to serve. In our case, port 111 is access to a network file system, NFS. Let's use Nmap to enumerate this. Okay, so let's see what mount we could see. And I'm just going to keep this thing open. Technically, I don't think I need to because now I have the log file inside this thing. So fine, we don't need to do that. Let's, what do we do? Quit, enter. Okay, we already did that. Exit, SMB, and let's do nmap p111 script equals nfs ls nfs statfs nfs show mount, and then the IP address 246.186. Okay, let's see what Nmap shows us here. Right, let's zoom in here. Okay, so what do we have here? We have on port 111, the service is rpcbind, as the tutorial already tells us. So on here, we got a bunch of different files that have a bunch of different permissions. This one is one of the most interesting because it has S inside the group permission, which is set UID, and it is local, but we have the backup file name, cache, crash, local, lock, log, snap, and www. The NFS show mount is var, which is probably the answer to what we're looking for in the file system, and that's all we got. So okay, so let's try /var, and that is indeed correct. So we got that information as well. This is actually one of the more useful rooms so far. I don't know if you saw the last two videos that we did for this module, but there was very little instruction, and I had to basically do a lot of trial and error and go research on Google and all these different things. So that was nice. It's fun that we could actually get this information. So okay, let's get the version of ProFTP use netcat to connect to the machine on the FTP port. Okay, what's the hint? NC is netcat, machine's IP, and then port 21. Okay, let's see if we could actually do that. And can I go back to see what the results of the Nmap scan were? Maybe we could find the version of FTP. No. Okay, so what I'm gonna do real quick, just to see if I can get the version like this, I'm gonna do Nmap SV for version, and we got port 21 for FTP, and then 1010 246.186. I think that's the port, right? Is that what it is? The IP? Can I see the IP on the screen real quick? Whatever, we're gonna try it. Verbose, and let's try what it gives us. And aha, look at that. So 21 is FTP, and we got a version 1.3.5. So I'm gonna do this 3.5, and that is indeed the answer. So we can use searchsploit to find exploits for a particular software version. Searchsploit is basically just a command line search tool for exploit DB. How many exploits are there ProFTP running? I want to actually first do the command that they told us, which is the netcat command on port 21. So let's try to do that command first, just to see what we can get, if we can get any other information apart from what we got from running Nmap. So we're going to do netcat 10.10.246.186, and then 21 for the port. And it's a listener, so I don't exactly know what it would give me. Whatever, I'm just going to let that listener run just in case we need to refer back to it. But netcat is just a listener, so it's not like we're listening. No. Oh, I see. Boom, it's right here. It's literally telling us. That's basically what we needed to do, is just run it so that we can get the server version. So that's the only thing that we... Okay, fine. So we could just command C out of that to cancel. Okay, so how many exploits are there running for the ProFTP? And so let's see what the hint is going to be. This is the command that we got to run. So searchsploit ProFTP version. So that's what we got to run. And what I'm going to do, searchsploit ProFTP version. That's the command. Is it going to give me anything? No results. Huh. Oh, you know what? I got to give the actual version number, duh. Searchsploit ProFTP. I literally just typed in version. Okay, there you go. That should give us something. There you go. Okay, cool. So we have 4 exploits: mod copy, command execution, remote command execution, and these 2 are Python files, and then just file copy, and it's a text file, and then that thing RB is for Ruby. So, okay, so we got 4 as the answer. Voila. Very good. So you should have found an exploit called modcopy module, which we actually did. We actually found 2, it seems. The modcopy module implements site cpfr. Let me go in here so we can reread this together. And site cpto commands, which can be used to copy files directories from one place to another on the server. Any unauthenticated client can leverage these commands to copy files from any part of the file system to a chosen destination. We know that the FTP service is running as Kenobi user from the file on the share. We saw that earlier. And an SSH key is generated for that user. That's true. We already got that. So we did the netcat listener, which was right here. So we're now going to copy Kenobi's private key using the site cpfr and site cpto commands. Let's see, what does it say? I guess it's going to be inside netcat that we're going to do it. Interesting. Okay, so once we're in netcat, we're going to run these 2 commands, but I don't think I need to download any of the Python files or anything. I think it just runs as the command itself. So we're going to try to do that while we're actually listening to the netcat. So if I just go up a couple of times, it should take me to the netcat command, and we got that. So now we're just going to run site cpfr home kenobi .ssh id rsa. id rsa is the standard name for a key file. So site cpfr, so copy. Did that work? Okay, so it worked, and so now we're going to do site cpto, and we're going to copy it to our temp folder, idrsa, and that should be copied. So now that the copy has been done, as we can see over here, so site cpfr, and this was the information that we found inside this thing. So if I go to, we're just going to do nanolog txt, just get inside it. And this is it. This is where it says, so enter the file in which to save the key. And so the key was saved in here. And this is the actual key itself, right? So the key was saved in there. And now we went to this to actually get inside that directory. And then we used the second command, site cpto, to download the key that was inside that thing to our temp folder, right? So that's basically what we did. So we knew that the zoom in, buddy. There we go. We knew that the var directory was a mount we could see. So we've now moved Kenobi's private key to the var temp directory on our folder. So if I had to go help with the groceries. Okay, so I think we're going to now check the temp folder to see if we got the IDRSA. Did we get it? I see. So we did it on the actual machine itself. So it's inside the victim machine. So it's not in our machine. Got it. Okay, so then what we're going to do is now we're going to download it to our machine using this set of commands. So make directory, mount Kenobi NFS, then we're going to mount the file to our own directory. So sudo make directory right here, then it's mounting, and then it's going to, it says only root can do that, so then they had to do a sudo permission again, and then from there we just did lsla inside the folder that we made. And where is it? Did we get a mount? Where's the, it should be in here, right? Oh, the temp folder. That's probably it right here, right? I think, let me see. Or I think it's actually the whole thing. This is literally all of the stuff that was just downloaded from, yeah, because we made a, got it. So you make a directory and it's an empty directory, then you're going to mount everything from this directory into the directory that you made. And then from there, if you go into the directory that we made, it shows everything that was inside here. Okay. All right. So that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to go here and we're going to make a directory called mnt kenobi nfs. Let's zoom in a little bit so you could see what's going on. And then we are going to mount it 10.10.246.186, right? 246.186, yep. And the name of the file is the var file, whatever. And then it's going to come inside our mount Kenobi NFS. And that's done. So if now I go to, let's go inside the mnt Kenobi NFS folder and do lsla, voila. Okay, so there's everything that we just downloaded from that share. So what do we got here? What's the question that we're trying to answer? So now we have a network mount on our deployed machine. We can go to the temp folder and get the private key then to Kenobi's account. Okay, great. So now that I'm here, let's go inside the temp folder, and there's the ID RSA key. Beautiful. Okay, so now what we can do is we can use that file to do a quick little SSH inside Homeboy's account. Right, so it basically tells us to first copy the file, which, I mean, it's not really necessary, but we're just going to do the commands just so you could see what's going on. So we copied .rsa, or you know what, it wants us to do it inside the basic folder. So I'm going to go back 3 levels so that we're inside our main folder that we were originally in. Is this the folder that we were originally in? I want to say that it is. Is it supposed to be? It is not, actually. So we need to go to that folder. There you go. That's the original folder that we were in. Okay, cool. So then we want to do the, I guess that's why they want us to do it, to just bring it to the root folder for Kenobi NFS. That's what we made. And then it is the temp file ID underscore RSA. And then when you do dot, it brings it into whatever folder you're in right now, right? So if I just did that, it should bring that ID RSA file exactly where we are right now. And if I do ls, there you go. So this is it, right? So, okay, so there's the file. So now we need to change the permissions to it. So chmod is changing permission. 600 is adding a permission so that we can actually execute this mofo. So now we have that. So if I did lsla and we did that, excuse me, lsla, there we go. If we did that and we find the ID RSA, I could have, I guess, just done ID RSA. I'm going to do that instead of scrolling through that. So lsla ID RSA, there you go. So read write permission. That's all I got on this thing, and I wonder if that's going to be enough for us to be able to use this. So let's see. SSHI with this thing. We're going to go into Kenobi's account at the 246.186 IP, right? ID RSA Kenobi at 10.10.246.186. Let me just make sure that's actually right. And it is right. So if I press this, yes, I do want to continue. And look at that. We were able to use his key file to get access to Kenobi's account, you guys. Well, fan-flippin'-tastic. Okay, so now we need to find the flag. And so let's see, is it already in here? It is already in here. So all I need to do is just to cat user.txt. And there's the flag. Do this, do that, go here, scroll down, do that, click, paste, submit, boom, shakalaka. Okay, cool. Excellent. So now let's go to the last piece of this thing. Okay, so we already kind of read through this a little bit. And so it says SUID bits can be dangerous. Some binaries such as password need to be run with elevated privileges as it's resetting your password on the system. However, other custom files could have, However, other custom files could that have, okay, this is just bad English. I don't know what the hell this guy's trying to say. I think what he's saying is that if other files have SUID set, it can lead to all sorts of issues. Fine. Okay, so to search the system, the A system. Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. I don't know, maybe they were in a rush or something. No judgments, no judgments. But my OCD is kicking in right now with bad grammar. So, okay, so we need to run this command inside the place that we are in, I'm guessing, in Kenobi's system to find everything that allows us to run the SUID, and it's a file that we're looking for. And so what this does right here, because when you run this command, I'll just show you actually, just so you can kind of see the difference. So first I'm going to do the command without the toDev null thing at the end of it. So type, let's zoom in right here so you could see what's going on. Type F. So find, and this means inside the root folder that we're in right now, and then recursive to all of the other directories that are inside this folder. So basically inside the entire system that we're in, that's what this implies. So find inside here the stuff that has a permission of S set, and I think U equals S means that the user who created it has the S permission attached to it, and it's the type of object that we're trying to find is a file, right? So now we're going to run this command without the toDev null part, and look, you see everything that has permission denied, and you have to now sort through all of that stuff to try to find all the ones that we can actually use, which is a lot of permission denied errors. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exact thing, except now we're going to do this. So when you do this, it only shows the ones that we can use without any of the error messages, and it's a much shorter output. so it's just easier to read. So that's why we do toDev null, so you can see what's going on. Okay, so what are we doing here? What file looks particularly out of the ordinary? Okay, let's see. What do we got here? What do we got? Okay. Mount is normal. Policy kit looks normal. All these things look normal. CHFN maybe, I guess. Let's see. pkexec password. Ooh. Ooh. It's probably not a good one. It's probably dangerous. Sudo might be chsh. At, I guess. New group. Umount, fuser mount ping su ping 6. Okay, so what I know, just to kind of help me process of elimination, I know that it needs to have 3 slashes in it, so it's none of these guys right here. Since it's none of these single slashes, the process of elimination, I know it's kind of cheating, but whatever. So it could be a few things, and I guess we can just try to see which ones they are by entering and seeing what it is, but I'm gonna first guess that it's sudo. Sudo, it's definitely not menu. I don't think it's password either, because this has 6 characters and the response is supposed to have only 4 characters, but this also just seems pretty sketch to me. So it's a 4-character answer that we're looking for. CHFN might be, don't know what that is. CHSH might be, don't know what that is. Don't know if it's menu. I think it's sudo. I'm gonna go with sudo first. Okay, so let's see. What is it again? Well, let's just copy it. Let's see, is it sudo? Be sudo. It's not sudo, is it? Wait, zoom out. It's not sudo. Okay, so if it's not sudo, we're just going to start from the top here. We're going to take this one. Process of elimination, I guess, mate. CHFN. It's not that one either. We're going to take menu. Could it be menu? It's menu? Why? Okay, whatever. Let's just run it. Let's see what menu does. User bin menu. Status check kernel version ifconfig. That's really, is that okay, fine, whatever. Okay, so it shows us 3 options. Strings is a command on Linux that looks for a human readable strings on a binary. So curl, this is the thing, I guess. So curl so curl in the interface localhost uname r ifconfig. Okay. So wait, stop, dude. What are you doing? This shows us the binary is running without a full path. Enter your choice. Let me see what I do if I just press 3. So it does ifconfig for us, okay? And then it gives us the response, which is in our current machine that we're on. This is the IP address that we've been attacking this whole time. So this is the regular INET IP address for the etho, so Ethernet 0, I think that's what that stands for. So ETH 0, yeah, it is Ethernet, duh. Okay, so that's the IP address right here, and then there's the LO, which is for local loopback, which is our 127. This is the standard IP address for the local network on most, if not all, machines. So if that is indeed the case, since we ran ifconfig, strings is a command on Linux that looks for human readable strings on a binary. This shows us the binary is running without a full path, e.g. not using user bin curl or user bin uname. What have they done here? That they didn't even run strings here. So what did they do? So one is status check. UID is root, Kenobi, so on and so forth. We copied the bin shell, called it curl, gave it the correct permissions, and then put its location in our path. So they echo this right here. So echo bin shell to curl. So they echoed that to curl. Then they changed the permissions of curl so that it has all permissions. 777 means it does everything, read, write, execute. And then we exported darn it, I'm drawing a blank. But we exported it to the path, to the local path. And now they just ran it. So user bin menu, and that's the result that they got. So I mean, this part is a little bit confusing. So let's see. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to run ID. And we don't have root permissions. So that's the one thing, is that UID is 1000 Kenobi. We're not root. None of these things imply that we have any kind of root permission. So what we're going to do is we're going to do basically the command that they are saying to do. Okay. Rings is a command. I still want to run this part. Strings is a command on Linux that looks for human readable strings on a binary. So curl I localhost uname r ifconfig. This shows us the binary is running without a full path. All right, so first I'm going to do that then. I'm just going to do that. We're just going to run it one at a time just to see what this does. So localhost, where did I do? Right here. So we just curled our curl is just kind of to pull the HTML or the contents of whatever the link is, or the IP or the DNS is that you give it. So it gave us a 200 response, which means it ran perfectly fine. This was a server that we're running on. Last modified was this. etag is this, and doesn't really give any other information. So the next command is uname r is okay. That's the uname for the current system that we're on. And then the last one is ifconfig, which we already ran and we saw. And so it basically is saying what? It's saying that this shows us that the binary is running without a full path. Oh, I see what they're saying. I see. Okay, so I see. Now I understand. So instead of having to run user bin curl to get the curl, or user bin uname to get the uname, we can just run it by doing the command itself without the full path. So that's the information that we get from this situation, which means that we can most likely run other commands without having to use the full path. That's basically what it tells us. Okay, so if that's the case, then what we're trying to do now is we want to run the, what do? We want to run Excusez-moi. So we want to echo the shell binary into a variable called curl. Okay. And curl, I guess, was one of the things that have SUID or root privileges, I guess, or bin shell does maybe. So we're going to change the permissions of the curl variable that we just made to all permissions, and then we're going to export into path the temp folder with the variable of path. And then we're going to run user bin menu one more time, and it's going to give us this thing. So if I do 1, it still did that. If I do ID, I mean, I still am not root, so I don't understand what the heck just happened here. No, that definitely did not turn us to root, and it's supposed to turn us to root. So I don't know what y'all are talking about. Oh, I'm supposed to be in the temp folder, maybe? Maybe that's what's wrong. Okay, so let's go to temp. There is no temp folder, buddy. Oh, there it is. Okay, so all right, now we're inside the temp folder, so we'll just run all of the commands while inside the temp folder. Oh, I see, because temp was the one that has, got it. Temp folder has the one that has the SUID permission as root. Okay, fine. Let's try that one more time. So chmod 777 curl. Okay. And then export to path temp. There we go. Path. That's why it's important to be inside temp. And now if I run it one more time, this should actually work. Did it work? It did work. What's up? So cd ls, or let's go to home, ls, Kenobi, where is it? Is it supposed to be in the root folder? It's not supposed to be in home, it's supposed to be in root. And there it is, baby. Voila. Okay, so see, the nuances are important, the details are important. And boom, and we are done with this room. And we're, as always, we're going to share it on LinkedIn because I need to share the progress. There you go. That was a relatively simple and easy one. And honestly, I think the biggest thing about this, and so let's run it from the top, right? So we had to deploy the local machine. We had to deploy the vulnerable machine, then run Nmap. And this is one of the things that I used to just, I don't know, as a, I don't know, best practice or just to cover all my bases, I would do all ports as a scan instead of just doing a basic Nmap scan, which is what they told us to do right here. They just said just do Nmap IP address with just super verbose. And that ran within a matter of seconds and it finished. So that was a big lesson for me in this one, is that I don't have to necessarily run all 65,000 ports to get the response that I want. And so we did that. We ran Nmap and we enumerated our IP address to see how many ports were open. And as we ran the IP address, we got some information that was really important, which is these ports were open. So port 445 and 139 were both open. The 139 is what's required to be on the same network. So if you want to access that thing, you got to be in the network of that machine, meaning on their Wi-Fi or connected to their router or switch, so on and so forth. But 445 is something that can be accessed remotely. And so we ran Nmap against port 445, and we ran several scripts against it, which was these scripts come ingrained with Nmap, and one of them is to enumerate the shares, and then the other one is to enumerate the users. And so we found some shares that were important. There were 3 different shares that we found, and then one of them was the anonymous share. And then we used SMB client, which just comes pre-installed with most Linux distributions, Kali Linux. We used SMB client to see what's inside this thing, and we found the log.txt file, we were able to view the log.txt file within the machine itself while we were in SMB, but there's also a way that you could just get it to download onto your own local machine. So we went to our attack box and we ran this thing to download the anonymous, the file that was inside the anonymous share, which was the log.txt. And then from our Nmap scan, but it was also inside the log.txt file. From both of those strategies, we found out that FTP is running on port 21, and then the command that they told us to run so we could find what version. Oh, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the Nmap scan showed that port 111 was running something called RPC. Where is it? Scroll to the right. RPCbind, and then. So when we ran Nmap again against 111, but this time we used NFS, LS, and NFS, StatFS, NFS show mount. So rpcbind is a part of the network file system. I think it says it right here somewhere. Right here. Oh, duh. Okay, so in our case, port 111 is access to a network file system. And so Nmap has some scripts for NFS enumeration. So LS is to list, just like we found several times today, StatFS, and then show mount. And so we ran that on port 111 of the IP address, and we found the var mount location. And then from there, we were able to continue the rest of them. So ProFTP was one of the servers that was running on the FTP port that we found. And so the version that they told us to find out, or the way that they told us to find out the version of ProFTP was to run the netcat listen. There it is. So netcat, the machine's IP address, and port 21. And so that immediately told us what version of ProFTP was running, which was 1.3.5. But I also did it with Nmap against that specific port, which was port 21, using the SV flag, which gives us the version of whatever service is running on that port. And then let's zoom back in here. We used searchsploit to basically search through the exploit DB database. This is actually also something else that I just learned today, which is super useful, because instead of going to exploitdb.com and then searching for, you know, FTP or ProFTP 1.35, 13. Whatever, we just ran searchsploit, which is super quick and very, very convenient, much faster than going to the website and browsing. So we ran searchsploit, ProFTP, and then 135, and it gave us 4 different vulnerabilities, or exploits, excuse me, 4 different exploits for ProFTP version 1.3.5. And then one of those was the mod copy module. And in the mod copy module, these are the commands that are available. So all we had to do while we were listening, so it had to be inside the netcat listener. So while we did the netcat listen on the port 21 of the IP address, we had to run those 2 commands. One of them is site cpfr home Kenobi yada yada yada, which was inside the log.txt file, because we saw that the IDRSA, the key, was saved inside this folder. And so we copied that, and then we pasted it inside the temp folder of the machine, right, in the FTP database. And then, since we know that it's inside the var folder, was a mount that we could actually see when we ran the share earlier, task 2 question 4. Now we can move the private key file to the temp directory. And so we mounted the temp directory to our own machine using these series of commands. So first you make a directory, because anytime that you mount, it brings everything from whatever the heck that thing was. So everything from this folder gets downloaded. And so if you don't have a dedicated folder for it, then it becomes kind of messy. So we first made the directory, then we mounted this file or this folder into the directory that we made. And then when we did lsla, which we listed everything inside of this new mount folder that we had, we got this response. And we saw all of these things here. And inside all of those things was what? The temp folder, right? So if we go inside that temp folder, we see that the IDRSA key is in there. So Then we went to this particular situation was being done inside the downloads folder. I just did it inside my home folder, the root folder. So we had to copy the IDRSA file, and then that little dot says that you want to copy this thing into your current directory, whatever you're in right now. And so it downloaded that key file inside the downloads folder for this person. For me, it was just inside my root folder. Then you do sudo, which is a root command to actually allow you to change the permissions of this thing to 600. And then we used SSH, which is secure shell. I allows you to use a key file instead of a password. And so we did the key file, Kenobi was the username, which we also found inside the log.txt file at the very beginning, and at the IP address. And then we were able to log in, and right inside his home folder, he had this other flag. And so we found that. And then the last piece of the puzzle was when we were able to find ourselves some files that have the SUID permission set. And so when we ran, it was the menu, the menu folder, or menu binary, there you go, menu binary, that had the SUID permission set. So when we ran it, it gave us 3 options, right? And then what we did was we just kind of ran these commands just to see if it was using the full path or not. And we found out that it does not use the full path. And so since this file runs as root user privileges, and what they're talking about is the user bin menu, that's the file that they're talking about. So since that runs as the root user privileges, we can manipulate it to our path to gain a root shell. But what's also important is that the TMP folder, we had to be inside this directory in order for this thing to work, because when I ran it outside the directory, it didn't work. So you had to be inside the TMP folder, which also probably allows other permissions that was not allowed inside the root home folder. So once we were inside the TMP folder, we were able to run the commands that they gave us. So you basically echo means that you echo. So you send. So if I did echo without this piece right here, where it went into the curl variable, it would have just printed whatever this was, whatever's inside this file or folder or a txt file, anything. It would have just printed that onto the screen. But we echoed it inside a variable. That's what that forward greater than symbol, whatever, to curl does. And so it put it inside this variable for us, and then we changed the permissions of that variable or binary or path. We changed the permissions of it so that it can do everything, execute, read, write, all that stuff. Then we exported it to the path, the local path of the machine, and then we ran the binary that had the SUID permission. And because that was allowed to be done, and it all tracks back to this, because by running this, we don't want to just run the menu. We want to run shell. So we want to run shell with the root permissions that's attached to this. That's basically what this series of things does, right? That's why it's important to run it with the way that we did. We wanted to echo a shell inside that variable, then we wanted to change the permissions of the variable, then export that into our local path, so that whenever we do run this finally, instead of it just running and giving us a menu, it would run as a shell for the root user. And then so when we finally did that, and then I pressed 1, instead of us giving any kind of a status check or whatever, actually I think it did give us a status check, didn't it? So let's go back. Did it give us a status check when I ran it? No, it didn't. So I pressed 1. Look, check this out. Because previously, remember when we pressed 1, it actually gave us a status check and, you know, started 200, and it told us all these other things that was inside it. It's actually right up here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, no, right here. So enter choice, right? I did 1, and it actually gave us the status of everything, right? So that means it didn't work. And then when I ran the ID, it was like, no, you're still Kenobi. And I'm like, who am I? It's like, you're still Kenobi. I'm like, what the hell? So I went into the temp folder. I repeated the exact same steps that we did before. But now this time, and this part of it is obviously very crucial, that we had to be inside the temp folder. as we ran the whole thing. And then we ran the freaking user menu binary, and then I still did one. And instead of doing status check, it just didn't do anything. And it just kind of went into this little hashtag symbol. And I was like, oh, maybe this worked. And then we did ID, and it said we're root. And then I basically, the rest of it is kind of, the rest is history, as they say. And so we completed this room. Obi Wan Kenobi stood no chance against us, bruh. Let me just tell ya. So this was fun. This was exciting. I'm going to terminate this machine. I'm going to terminate this machine. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers. And this was TryHackMe. Super fun. I hope you learned a lot. And I hope you actually get yourself TryHackMe. Oh, this is actually really cool right here. So you don't even need to get the paid version of TryHackMe right here. So this is a free room, which means that anybody can deploy virtual machines in the room without even being subscribed, which, I mean, this is pretty awesome. This is why I love this service so much, because they do have a lot of free rooms too. But if you use the link in the description and you just want to use a free room anyways, but if you, or how do I re-say that? Let me say that again. If you use the link in the description, use the free room temporarily, but then whenever you do upgrade, you would actually get credit towards your $12 cost or whatever it is, because it's super affordable anyways. But instead of getting limited to just some of these other rooms, you could actually get the paid rooms, which are super dope anyways. They're pretty badass. You would get a discount towards it if you use the link in the bio. If you don't do it, it's all good. You can use all the free rooms, obviously. And just make sure that you like, subscribe, share, and follow, and tell everybody, comment, turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that I drop something. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, leave it in the comments. If you just want to say hi, leave it in the comments. And yeah, that's it. I'm done with this. I will see you in the next one.